is Tanis with Metal Odyssey, and you are watching the very first episode of a new series called What Did You Just Ask Me? A series where I ask musicians questions that have absolutely nothing to do with their musical careers. I honestly don't think I could have picked a better first guest. Former guitarist for Faster Pussycat, current guitarist for Ellie Guns, and most importantly, Pitbull advocate, Ace Von Johnson. Thank you so much
Hey,
for doing this with me.
yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So, like I said, these questions aren't going to be normal at all. They're going to range from just kind of wanting to get to know you as a person to it's a really random question, and I just want to see how you'd answer.
Okay, we can do that.
Question that I got from a fan who it's kind of deep, but I think it would be a good one for you to answer. So, you ready?
Sure, let's go.
Alrighty. So, it's no secret that you're into horror and anything creepy. So,
Yeah.
have you ever seen a ghost or had a paranormal encounter of any kind?
I have. Yeah, if you're one to subscribe to that, I've had lots of creepy things happen to me over the years, but I think the one thing that stands out was I was playing in a venue in I can't remember what city, but it was in Germany, and the venue was what was then a teen center in the afternoon and a rock venue in the evening. But in the 30s and 40s, it served as a military bunker. And so it was underground several stories. And then above ground, they had sort of a band apartment that used to be barracks. And they had obviously converted it into, this teen center and whatever else. And and I was sitting in the sort of communal area talking with my tour manager, and I saw to my right at about 1 o'clock in the kitchen area, it was a single entrance into this little room with sort of a island in the middle, like a kitchen island. And I saw a woman in blue with long dark hair, such as yourself, walk through in my peripheral. And I was like, oh, I thought it was my bass player's wife who was traveling with us, and I didn't really think anything of it as I was talking to my tour manager for the next 90 seconds. And then it sort of seemed weird because it didn't really look like her. And I got up and there was no one in there. And I was like, where's Krista? And she was in this bedroom laying down and the other end of the apartment. So it was definitely something else that's walking through the kitchen there.
Once you said Germany, I was like, yeah, no, this makes sense. Whatever
Yeah,
they makes
think lot older world over there, a lot more
yeah.
history embedded into things. Yeah.
Have you ever had any encounters like at home?
Not here. I lived in an apartment for a long time in Hollywood that was built in 1920 and was a uh, it was housing that they had built for studio actors in the 20s, 30s, and whatnot. And so every room, excuse me, every apartment there had ample closet space, way more than you would ever one person would need because for wardrobe. And so this one bedroom apartment that I lived in for about, I don't know, 7 years. Um, there was just always like a vibe. The building had a vibe. Uh, I knew people that lived in that building for years beforehand. I would pet sit for and pet sat for even while I lived there, which was convenient because I just walked down the hall, and had known friends that had lived there off and on for maybe 15 years. And I always had sort of a strange vibe there. And early into me living there, I had a girlfriend there that was asking me. I think she was just in town, and she goes, "There's a spirit here in my apartment." And I said, "Yeah." I said, I don't ever really see anything or whatnot. There's not like anything that I could put my finger on other than just sort of a vibe. But I said it kind of feels like when I would go visit grandmother. Like I feel like it's like a like this like older paternal sort of vibe. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was very innocuous and whatever. And the only thing that ever really caught my eyes, I felt like Mila would occasionally be like watching something, which uh, here in the house I live in now, it's a newer house, and I know there's no vibe here in regards to that. And I don't ever catch her like watching stuff, and I know what she looks like when there's a bug or if there's a sound or whatever. But occasionally it would look like she was sort of like following someone or something to that effect. I used to even record it on my phone, and so this girlfriend of mine who considered herself not a clairvoyant, but some sort of, was able to sort of pick up on those things. She said, "Yeah, there's an older man that passed here that sort of is, indifferent to your presence as you are to him." And I was like, "All right." I was like, "I kind of get that." I was like, I'm vibing with that, So I just sort of had this unspoken accord with my spectral roommate at this apartment, and I felt like the longer I was there, the less I feel like it dissipated over time. Like I felt like the first year or two I was there, like I'd get a vibe or goosebumps, or I'd feel like something was going on, or the dog was picking up on stuff. And then the longer I was there, the less, even in the last maybe 3 or 4 years I was there, I can't even really think of anything going on there. But the whole building was very, very creepy. I think I don't want to give it away, because people live there, but it's this old building. If anyone's in Hollywood, at the top of Argyle in Hollywood, just north of the Capitol Records building, anyone that lives there is probably familiar with it because it's one of the oldest buildings, oldest apartment buildings, or what have you, in the area. And so, if anyone has ever been there, I'm sure they've definitely picked up on it.
Interesting. Very interesting. So this next question is gonna kind of go the complete opposite direction. And this is one of those that's like I just kind of want to pick your brain.
Sure.
I was a huge wrestling fan, and I know that a lot of people kind of can connect wrestling theme songs to all types of music. Like Rage
Yeah.
Against the Machine has done stuff and all that. So, if you were a WWE wrestler, what would your theme song be, and what would your ring name be?
Oh God. Uh, my theme song would be uh God. How about Hammer Smashed Face by Cannibal Corpse? That sounds like a
Oh,
good a good, you
that's
know,
perfect.
getting somebody pumped up to fight in the ring. And then
Yeah, there you go.
my stage name or whatever. How about the Rumbler? Because that was when I got given the nickname Ace. I was either 18 or 19, I don't remember. But the original name, it's as most nicknames are given to other people. I didn't choose Ace for myself because I detested it for about a year or two. But the original name was Ace Rumbler. And there's a long story, I'll spare you, but it was partly because of my low, rumbling baritone voice. So I'll go with that. That was the first and only thing that could come to mind. So
I,
that's what
I
I'm going with.
honestly think that's perfect. And maybe even you could keep Ace if you want. I still think that would be a cool first and last name.
Ace Rumbler. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
my wrestling alter ego.
Would love to see that. Would start watching again for that. All right, so it is pretty much spooky season. Fall started yesterday. If
Yes.
you, Mila, and Rufus were to do a family Halloween costume, who would everybody be?
We would be the oh shoot, I'm trying to think of their last name. We would be the Torrance family from The Shining, and I would be Jack, and Milo would be Shelley Duvall's character, and Rufus would be little Danny
Danny.
Torrance. Or we would do the Maitlands from Beetlejuice, and I would be Beetlejuice, and they would be the Maitlands.
Oh, oh, I would love to see that. The pet stores are really good at coming up with costumes. Maybe somebody will see this and make that, 'cause that would be wonderful.
Yeah, he'll let me dress him up however I want. He's pretty unopinionated on that kind of stuff. She's difficult to get to what do you call it? Abide. So anytime I put any kind of costume or anything on her, she tries to take it off. So I think unless it's like a shirt or a collar type item, it's usually pretty short lived.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, you can paint her nails. How do you get her to sit for that?
The same way I do now. She's indifferent most of the time. She doesn't really care about that kind of stuff. It's if something's obstructing her view, or like she's got some Princess Leia earmuffs and some head stuff, like any kind of hat or uh, whatever. I'm incredibly distracted by him over there, but sorry. But yeah, so she's not a fan of that. But yeah, the nail painting she doesn't really seem to mind.
Yeah, because it's super cute, and isn't it like a pet friendly nail polish too?
Yeah, I have painted her nails in the past with non-pet friendly, which I'd advise against, just because they put stuff in there that's not good for her dogs, because their little fingernails absorb stuff into their bloodstream. But there is a company I'm looking for. I don't know why. Like I have it here. I don't, or maybe I do. There is a company. Oh, I knew I wasn't crazy. There is a company called uh, Lauren London that makes Podicure polish pen. And this is, I don't know how many of these I've got on over the years, but uh, yeah, that's what I recommend if you so choose to paint your dog's nails. I do
My
it
dog wouldn't let me do that. But it's like a
because
it's like a marker?
yeah, it's basically a paint pen.
That's really cool.
You got to shake it up, and then it's pretty mangled now, but it applies the same way nail
Yeah,
polish would. It's just dog friendly, and now I
that's
have a
pretty
clean
cool.
fingernail.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
Yeah,
Alright, so do you have, like, a secret talent, obviously outside of playing guitar?
no,
I I
I
have
have
had
minimal
conversation with
talents.
somebody.
Uh, I would just defer to the voiceover stuff or the occasional impressions. I don't really do a lot of impressions. I'm good at some voices, like obviously in my years of doing voiceover and being a kid and just doing prank calls and silly stuff like that and coming up with characters on the fly. Um, I thought that was something I was pretty good at, um, but I don't know. That's probably it. If anybody was outside of music stuff was unaware of that, I would file it under hidden talent for that. My mom always told me I should be a DJ because of my voice, and obviously my interest in music. But I always thought it was because I had a face for radio.
Oh,
So who
stop.
knows?
But I heard that a lot when I was in radios. Well, I mean, you brought it up, so I did want to talk a little bit about your voiceover stuff.
Sure.
I just wanted to know how you got into that, because I know you really would like to continue with it.
Yeah, I think I got into it. Uh, I mean, it started coming to my attention as a teenager. I think a combination of the fact that as a very young man, I mean, not even young man, a little boy, I wanted to be a comic book artist. And so I used to draw a lot. I mean, still have them, books and books and books and pages of sketches and characters. And, if I was into Star Wars at 9, I was drawing Star Wars. Or if I was into Ninja Turtles, I was drawing Ninja Turtles, again, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And then as I got more into movies and music and stuff, I started sort of looking at, what else I would want to pursue when I grew up, which I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. And I'll be 40 in December. But yeah, I think, and then, as my voice changed, people, even as a young man, literally, an adolescent, people, oh, what a nice speaking voice you have. I'd be like, thanks, I'm 14. And I didn't really pursue it actively until I was probably in my mid 20s. I think just out of the necessity of looking for something to do beyond just being a musician. And I spent a few years touring right out of high school. I dropped out of college, which I was studying to do audio engineering, which I probably would have melded together with the voiceover stuff. Inadvertently, I've been my forced to over the years, sort of learning curve stuff. But I got into it at about 20. Uh, oh shoot, is the connection still there?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I just got this thing that said my internet was acting up.
No, I mean, it did
Um,
for like 2 seconds, but you made it.
okay. Well, to be fair, I'm getting long-winded, so it's fine.
That's
Blah blah blah. I went studied. I took some formal classes in my mid 20s. I studied under a few people. I always joke, I go, well, as a professionally trained voice actor, dot, dot, dot. And I took a few months of courses at this this VO school in Burbank, California. And then I studied with a guy named Robin something, whose name escapes me. And then I started going to these workshops with people that were um, famous in the voiceover world. The woman that voiced the Barbie cartoon, and there was a guy there that was a former producer at Hanna Barbera in the '70s, and I think at one point the guy who voiced Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas was in there. So there were all these sort of well-to-do voiceover actors that I was sort of mingling with and workshopping with, and then I just started trying to apply it with nepotism. Like, oh, you like the band I'm in? Well, I'm looking for voiceover work, and so I still use that approach to this day. You know, I have a friend. I'll spare his name, but he's a really big producer at Pixar. I mean, he worked on Toy Story
cool.
4 and pretty much anything over the last few years. And we talk every couple months. He's up in the Bay Area. And, I usually resolve every conversation with like, oh yeah, and by the way, man, if you ever need anything, come on, throw me a bone here. But I've done a few things that I'm proud of over the years, but it's definitely a very passive uh um, sort of thing for me. It's not something that I do for a living or whatever. I wish I was doing more of it. Although that being said, I don't think I've booked a voiceover job in uh, uh, probably about 6 months. I mean, I've done things, but nothing worth mentioning at least. So anyhow, I hope that answer your
Yeah,
question.
no, you got it. I could actually answer two questions because I was going to ask you, was there any sort of specific type of voice acting you wanted to do? Cartoon, you mentioned Pixar, so you kind of
Yeah,
there.
95% of the things that I've done, including most of the stuff I've even done for a few things for Netflix, has been just my speaking voice. People they go, "Oh, you have this strong baritone speaking voice," and so they just usually get me for that. And even though I have like a demo reel with different animation, character voices, etc. I really don't get hired for that stuff. And it's frustrating in a sense because that's ultimately what I would like to be doing. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to do, if you're looking for a smooth riding car, try an Acura TS4. I want to do like, Marty, it's your kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids. And
Yeah.
so I want, character driven stuff. And it's a little more exciting to be somebody else than just the same old voice I hear all day. So hope that's that.
Because the, what is it, French dub thing you did for Netflix?
Yeah.
I remember actually sort of starting to watch that. If it's subtitled, it doesn't, keep me. But
Yeah, Sam.
I didn't know it was you, and then I was like, "Wait a second, I've seen this movie. How did
Yeah.
I catch that?"
Yeah.
But it's an interesting movie. Let's see. All right, we'll move on to something a little more fun. Another one of those kind of out there questions.
Sure.
Um, What is your survival plan if there's a zombie apocalypse?
Board up the windows and uh and start sharpening the guitars into wooden spears.
Last man on earth
I
style?
don't really have one, but I do have a good probably a month's worth of drinking water here because you never know. But no, I don't really have a plan. I would just board up all the windows and
Oh,
uh and then I would do that thing where I cover myself in zombie blood and just pretend like I'm one of the stupid ones, you know.
like Zombieland?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one though. All right. What? This is another weird one. What execution method throughout history do you find the most interesting? Like the Iron Maiden or the like
Uh,
horse and stuff?
the I don't know what it's called, but it's a form of impalement, and it's where they strap you vertical like this, and your legs are out, and there's like a giant metal pyramid, and gravity slowly pulls
Mm-hmm.
you onto this pyramid, and it's obviously it's torture, but
Uh-huh.
it just sounds like this what a horrendous way to die because it takes like weeks because it's just this slow uh weight of your body is basically pulling you onto this metal not a spike but this pyramid shape. And it's funny you should mention that because I was talking about uh I was talking about the new Dahmer series on Netflix, and I don't like to glorify anything like that. However, uh, as history will tell you, you know, you start talking about stuff from the 1400s or the 1200s or the biblical times or whatever. It's no longer, it's like where do you draw the line between history and like morbidity? And as a young man, I always was interested in like wax museums and which I think tied into one of my other interests when I was a kid was I wanted to do movie special effects makeup. And actually attempted to start doing that. Took some classes when I was in middle school, but that's again another story. And I was fascinated by you know horror movies and wax museums and makeup and gore and all these things. And at some point, I think at about 11 years old, I saw, I think my dad might have taken me to some exhibit where there was like, wax torture museum or something. It was like a tourist trap thing. Obviously, my dad and I were sort of into the same gross, like horror movie stuff. And I remember seeing that and reading this placard about how it was this slow thing. The same thing with the Iron Maiden and the guillotine, and all these the rack and drawn and quartered and all these other things. And horrible, horrible, horrible ways to die. Horrible things that humanity we've created to do to other people. That being said, I still find some of those things sadly to be kind of fascinating. So I hope that suffices.
Well, it's really weird because you
I don't
picked the
wish those
one.
sort of deaths on anybody, but they did happen. So it's interesting to read about. Is my point.
Well, it's funny. Well, yes, it's definitely great to read about, and it's just why the why is why we're always interested. But you actually picked the one that I had just seen a few days ago that sparked that
Yeah.
question. So,
Really.
like, I guess that is a popular one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more of the interest of why somebody would do it than the actual thing, and it doesn't make anybody morbid.
Yeah. I don't want to see it done. I
Yeah.
actually, as I've gotten older, I have a sort of less interested in anything like talking about horror movies because I watch a lot of them. The more graphic it is, the less sort of interested. I prefer sort of more psychological or ghosts or monster movies, and obviously I'm a big fan of all the classic stuff. But I mean, was it was it the Munsters or the Adams family that had an Iron Maiden like in their living room or something? It's like some
I
of these
think
things
so.
are just like
Yeah.
embedded in
Adam's
pop
family.
culture, but also like I mean, fuck, Alice Cooper takes a guillotine out and chops his head off every day at every show, and we're like, oh, that's entertaining, but like that's it's a form of torture,
Somebody that happened to somebody
so
for real.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
like probably tens of hundreds or thousands of people, so
yeah.
again, I know how sensitive people are nowadays, so I don't want to be like, too glorifying anything violent or whatever. So I'm not glorifying it. Just think that
It's
in
just an
history
opinion.
it's interesting all the ways people have come up with to you know uh exsanguinate other human beings.
Yeah, it is. Very interesting. So I have noticed that you brought it up earlier, and then I've noticed that you've been keeping up with every Star Wars thing that has come out recently, which right on because I haven't.
Yeah.
You were in a Star Wars movie. What species would you be?
Oh. uh huh. I don't know. I mean, I guess oh, you know what, I would want to be the species that Cad Bane is, and he's a expanded universe character. Here's where my little nerd glasses come out. Expanded universe character that they managed to briefly put in one episode of, I think it was Mandalorian. It was no, it was Book of Boba Fett. And
That's the
if
one I haven't
anyone's
seen.
seen either, he's the blue bounty hunter character. And I think he's got really big red eyes. He's just really creepy, and I always thought that character was really cool for an expanded universe character, and I would want to be something like him because it's too boring to just say, "Oh, I just want to be another human type character."
Jedi.
But
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be like, you know, one of the like I don't want to be like some amorphous blob or like some weird, you know, creepy looking thing. I still would like to be humanoid. There it is. That's the word I
Yeah.
was looking for.
Okay, I
So
get what you're
I'll go with
saying.
Cad Bane.
Absolutely.
I'll be the blue guy.
That's awesome. So again, we're veering off again.
Yeah.
And this one is slightly controversial. Do you believe that pineapple but belongs on pizza? Why or why not?
I think whatever you want to put on pizza is what belongs on pizza. I think if somebody, I actually I haven't eaten ham in probably 10 years, but when I was a kid, I did enjoy a Hawaiian style pizza. And what did I just have that had pineapple in it? I think I had uh, like a Thai food, and it was like a vegetable chicken rice thing, and it had pineapple in it. And I remember being like, "Wow, what a nice little accent that was." So
It is. I don't
yeah,
understand people.
I think just like a lot of things in life, if you don't like pineapple on pizza, then don't fucking eat it. It's that simple.
Exactly. Leave me alone. Let me have my pineapple.
Hmm.
So you have a lot of tattoos, obviously. And there's always talk about certain spots, the rib cage, pretty much anything directly on a bone. So
Yeah.
like spine, stuff like that. Was there a tattoo you got that was just extremely painful? Like you were like, if I could not do that again, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, like I said, mentioned earlier, I'm 39, and I started getting tattooed at 18. So I've got 21 years of body art, if you will. And now they've got sprays and creams and all kinds of stuff. And I wish I had had a lot of that 10, 15 years ago. But yeah, I would say the two that stick out the most. Um, I have my feet and my toes done, and I my first free tattoo I ever got was the piece I have on my foot, on my right foot, and it's a decapitated pirate head, and which I still love. And it was so painful that I, several instances, was certain I wasn't going to finish this simple piece that's only maybe the size of a tennis ball. And interestingly enough, to this day, I haven't actually done the other foot to because I want them to be symmetrical. Although I do have all 10 of my toes done. Not entirely because of how painful it was, but partly. Uh, Although the other piece is drawn up and waiting to be done on me by a very talented artist named Tokyo Hero. The other part that sticks out is, believe it or not, is my butt. I have a back piece that goes from my what is it, collar line, that goes all the way down. It's sort of based on a traditional Japanese style back piece. So it goes all the way from my neck down to about mid thigh. So it goes over my butt and stops at the middle of my thigh. And the neck to waistline is entirely finished, or at least 98% finished, as much as any tattoos ever really done, and or large piece. And then from my waist down is only outlined and shaded, because the process of healing, trying to sit all day or use the bathroom or
Yeah.
anything like that, is so arduous, combined with how incredibly painful that location is. You'd think, oh, it's just some fatty tissue on your butt. It won't hurt that bad. No, 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 my friend. It is atrocious. I wouldn't recommend it at all unless you're highly experienced. As a matter of fact, most of the guys I know, or gals that have back pieces, usually stop at about sort of their butt crack, because it's just gets so bad. But like I said, trying to sit for 7 to 14 days after, you have to do one side at a time so you can sit leaning.
Oh, yeah, I never even
Yeah. So I
I'm like,
don't
just you're
recommend
gonna
it.
struggle.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, you also have your elbow and the inside, which I
Oh,
always prefer
the
is
ditch.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Not too bad. Not too bad.
I've seen them just left and it looks weird, so like most people just power through, but
Yeah.
that's
I
it.
don't have my elbows actually done.
Oh,
Sort of,
okay.
they're alluded to, but
Still the inside.
yeah. I don't know why I didn't do. I know we did this one intentionally. It was supposed to be more spirally, and
Yeah.
then this side, Um, I think, to be honest, I think we just did these pieces around it and then added some filigree. And I think as he was getting closer to the elbow, I was like, let's just leave that open.
Stop.
Yeah.
Just stop right there. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I get that. You brought up the cream and like spray
Yeah.
suggested, and it still hurts afterwards because
Well,
I've
yeah. I mean,
had that.
it's a tattoo. It's not, anybody going into it is has to understand that, you're thousands of tiny little needle punctures in your skin. So it's gonna hurt when you're doing it, or with or without the cream, maybe, and then afterwards it's gonna be, a pain in the butt, pardon the pun. So,
Literally.
it's depends on what your pain threshold is. Mine used to be way higher. I was getting tattooed. There were instances where I was getting tattooed upwards of 4 times a week,
That's
for
goals though.
months. I had partnered with a friend of mine, and sort of invested, if you will, into a friend of mine's shop. And I'd go in there and I'd go, if you're not working, here's $100 and I'll buy you lunch. Let's start drawing on me until your next client shows up. And so that's how I got my back piece done by my main artist at the time, but then also all this goofy stuff I have on my legs and stuff. And I think mostly just on my legs, where I was like, if you're bored and you want to practice, now's the chance.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Just a
yeah,
human doodle board at this point.
yeah, yeah.
That's still fun. So, kind of sticking with pain, I guess. What is the dumbest way you have ever hurt yourself?
uh, the last 39 years consecutively. Um, Dumbest way I've ever hurt myself. Hmm. I'm sure there's a really good one, but nothing really comes to mind. I mean, I've, you know, slipped and fallen in the shower a few times, and uh, I don't know. I mean, sticking my fucking hand in a dog's mouth to break up a dog fight at the dog park, that was not smart. Um,
It was needed. So
yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't. Nothing really. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, I'm like going like stitches or broken bones. I don't really have a lot of that. Yeah. Getting your tooth chipped on a mic. Like walking up to the microphone and putting your foot on the bell of the mic stand and having it crack you in the face and chip a tooth. I've done
Right?
that. I'll take that one. Yeah.
Okay. That one does make sense. And you have a bunch of people watching you do that, so that's even better.
Yeah, nothing better than an audience when you do something stupid.
Yeah. Just own it. Like the guy from LA maybe, he owned chipping his tooth.
Oh, they're a great band.
They are a good one. It was just weird to have LA Guns and LA Maybe.
I'll give you a better one. Faster Pussycat. When I was with them, we were playing in Portland, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, and the bill was billed as, now pardon my French, it was billed as Pussy Fest, and it was Faster Pussycat with two other bands, one of which was called Black Pussy, and Tammy had the shirt for years. It was written in cursive, and it was like glitter print, and he would
Yeah.
wear it on stage for years. I'm sure a few people saw that. And then there was another band that had the word pussy in the name, and I think they were both just local bands that the promoter thought was funny to put
Yeah,
on
that's
on the
hilarious.
show. Yeah,
Yeah, you totally win because I was just going with I think 2015 I saw Marilyn Manson in Maryland. So
yeah,
that's like a great time for him to have fun with play on words. But
yeah. Maryland Manson.
yeah, Maryland,
If
he
I
can
was
make
going to
that
do a
joke.
tribute band in Maryland, it would be called that. Yeah,
Marilyn Manson, yeah. No, tribute bands, they come up with some really funny names. Really
yeah,
funny names. All right, so I am going to bring it down a little bit. This is the one a fan wanted to ask you, and I'm
sure.
going to read it because it's a direct quote. So he said, his name is Josh, and he said, "It feels like today people hate each other for what differences we have. If you could give advice that would bring people together and put aside those differences, what would it be?" And when he says differences, he's meaning like everything from style choice and what you like in music to religion and politics, but you don't have to like be specific.
Yeah, I would just simply say that ultimately, kind of like the pizza thing, if what other people are doing isn't harming anybody, you don't have to like it. I wish more people could just be tolerant in the fact that, like, oh, you like cats and I like dogs. That's great. I like dogs and you like cats. That's where that conversation should end. Not, I think more people need to be a little more understanding that, their opinion isn't, is just as valid as the next person's, and sometimes that opinion is wrong or is horrible. But unfortunately, it's we live in a society where, um, you know people are able to express whatever they want. And as somebody who has had people on the internet attack him or whatever for a myriad of things, whether it's the band for the band I'm in, or for how I look, or for my advocacy for pit bulls in general, etc. Everybody um, has some sort of story as to why they are, and I think it is just best to understand that, um, it's easier to just go, you know, thanks but no thanks, and understand that, you know, you can't, um, try to understand where everyone's coming from. And just to walk away and just be like, that's you, man. That's you. You choose to dress that way, or you choose to believe in this religious belief, or you choose to be part of this political background, and that's you. I'm going to do me and you do you. And I think, again, sort of circling back, like, as long as that what that person is their stances isn't hurting other people, because there are a few things out there that are hurting other people that I cannot condone. um, I think then it's like like I said, the pizza thing. Like, I might want pineapple on my pizza. If you don't want pineapple on your pizza, don't eat it. Let me go over here and eat my pineapple pizza. Now, if I'm going over to you and spitting on your pizza or putting pizza on your pineapple on your pizza, and you're going, I don't want that. That's where the line is. But beyond that, you know, we're all just human beings, just trying to, we're all, what is it? Just a squirrel trying to get a nut. We're all just trying to keep the lights on and put food in our belly and keep a roof over our head. And as long as you're not, trying to harm anybody, I think people just need to be a little more understanding that not everybody is going to like death metal or hip hop or country music or polka. And that's why that person likes what they like, and why you like what you like is that's, it makes those people an individual. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I wish more people understood that, where, unfortunately, as a guy who's old enough to remember, I remember the good old days before the internet took over, and, back in my day, there wasn't internet. There wasn't this constant undercurrent of, you know, I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to write a just the constant barrage of that by people for anything, anything, is it at some points it serves a really wonderful purpose, and more often than not, it serves zero purpose and is not to sound gauche, but is very toxic. And we live in a toxic society where people just want to rub everybody out and cancel everything just because they don't agree with it, or I don't like what that guy said, or this guy, like, you know I saw something where they were trying to like cancel the Duke, what's his name, the actor, the cowboy guy that's been dead for like 30 years. And it's like, you're talking about something from the 1960s, and the guy's been dead since like the 80s. Like, why, find something better to focus your energy on, you know and I think I'm getting long-winded here, but I think everybody is on their own little journey. And I think, as long as you are doing the best you can on your journey, and like I said, not harming other people in your way, and I think, that's all you can ask for is my 30 minutes TED talk here is just people should be a little more compassionate. And that's coming from a person who is ultimately incredibly I have an incredible misanthropic stance on life. I'm not a people person. I'm not a fan of engaging with a lot of people. It's difficult for me to even go online sometimes because I see so much vitriol and hatred and toxic behavior and all this negativity, and 90% of it is baseless and serves zero purpose other than people just wanting to be, I hate my job and so fuck you. There's so much of that. And so although I will drag a troll all day long, it's
Yes.
usually it's usually on Twitter, especially, it's usually out of boredom.
Yes.
It's when I have the time to, fuck with these people. But I'm like, you're gonna come at me, man. This isn't middle school anymore. I'm gonna sick my people on you. But that's the power of social media, and I'm not even advocating for that. That's just how I choose to deal with it. And so more people need to just take a deep breath and understand that just because you like pineapple pizza doesn't mean everybody else has to.
Wow. I love how you brought the pizza back, but I knew that just with your experiences that you'd be really good at answering that question. And I do want to bring it into a happier note.
Sure. I
And
hope that was sufficient for Josh.
yeah,
By the way.
I think it will be. I told him when he asked that I think it would be great because you do have such a big heart for a lot of different things, and I figured you would be able to give a very good response, and I think you did that.
Thank you.
But I do want to let you talk about something that I know is very dear to you because there's two of them on the couch over there. And what are some highlights that you've had working at working with pit bulls and like Pity and Pink and stuff like that? Oh, look at Ruben.
Uh, Here. he's down there. I don't want to disturb him too much, otherwise he'll be distracting all of us. Gosh, wait, what was the question again? I'm sorry, I got distracted by moving everything.
Just highlights in working with pit bulls and anything like that. I brought up Pity and Pink just because that's the one I see a lot.
Yeah. Um,
Some of
I,
those highlights.
I, I don't know that there's any one specific highlight. I feel like they're all. I hate to sound like all cliche, but I feel like any sort of win is a highlight. I feel like anytime, um, I was waiting, as you know, today I was waiting to pick up my car at the mechanic, and I got notification from I say friend, from one of the many people and these faceless people that are in these networking groups of people that just all day network for animals, not just pit bulls, but in this instance, a lot of pit bulls because the shelters are admittedly predominantly full of them. And I'm not going to delve into why so much, but there's just they're mistreated and they're overbred and dumped and abused and they end up in shelters. And the I don't know what the actual percentage is, but it's something like 95% of the dogs that go into these shelters do not leave. And when I say they do not leave, I don't mean they stay there for the rest and they're happy. They leave in a trash bag. And I hate to be so callous about it, but even this woman today, this is an everyday thing for me, no matter what, every 7 days a week. If I have my phone or my computer with me, this is every day. This woman today was like, I need you to, go try to help pick up this dog. And I was like, ma'am, I was like, I wish I could. I was like, I don't have a rescue organization. I said, but here's a list of some. I said, I'll DM you a few. And she said, well, this dog's going to be put down in 30 minutes. And I said, the unfortunate reality is that that's what the reality of the scenario is for these dogs. It's not like I'm like, oh, I really like these dogs and this is fun. It's me trying to network to literally save um, these domesticated animals' lives. And you know, that's sort of the path I've chosen. I didn't choose, uh, elephants. I didn't choose people in Rwanda or reptiles. I chose pit bull type dogs under the sort of banner of just rescue dogs in general, which ergo most rescue dogs, at least that need rescuing from shelters, are pit bull type dogs. It's a little redundant here, but the flip side of that was, that's the reality, is that most of them don't get that chance. And in the same breath, the same, me sitting in the waiting room waiting to pick my car up, was a woman, as I mentioned earlier in my network, had wrote to me and she said, these two dogs that you had pledged money for, which is something I do pretty frequently. I don't know if it's daily or sometimes, you know, multiple times a day. It just depends where I'm at with, my life and whatnot. But I do a lot of what they call pledging. So you'll see a dog in need, and it's not just pit bulls. I've done it with cats and poodles and all kinds of animals, but predominantly shelter dogs, which are, as I said, predominantly a lot of pit bulls. And so they try to garner large amounts of pledges. So let's say there's Rufus is in a kill shelter, and if he has $1,000 stipend in pledges, he's more likely to get pulled by a rescue because then the rescue has the financial means from those pledges to care for said said animal. So frequently, I'll just scroll through Twitter and I'll see, you know, dog X, and I'll go pledge $30, pledge $20, pledge $50. And there are plenty of times where I forget about it and it will catch up with me and they'll be like, these 7 dogs got rescued. And I have to, or I'm obligated to honor my pledges. And I'm going, well, I just gave away $300, for a good thing,
Yeah.
but there are times where I'm like, well, we're gonna be eating top ramen this week, and I don't mind. That's not a gripe. That's just the reality of the efforts that I have chosen to make. I'm not saying everybody else has to do it. There's plenty of people that pledge that don't honor, and that's on them. But I had a woman today, again, getting long-winded, who said, these 2 dogs you pledged for got pulled, And so here's your thing, and I actually doubled my, it was like $20 pledges, and so I sent them each more, um, than I had initially pledged, just because I felt like I could,
Yeah.
and so and my point to answer your question from an hour ago is that anytime that's a highlight. Appearing at the Show Your Soft Side event in Baltimore earlier this year, um, and getting to be on stage in front of I don't know how many thousand people, just simply to draw attention to. And it wasn't just a pit bull event; it was just rescue dogs. And of course, they paired me with a pit bull, as you do. And of course, admittedly, I can't remember her name, but she was wearing, I want to say Lulu. She was wearing a tutu and a little tiara on and whatnot. But it was a great event to be an honor. It was an honor to be a part of such a great event. And that was a highlight. And anytime I get to participate in anything that Rebecca Corey at Stand Up for Pits does, or help out Pity and Pink in Nashville, I've I foster failed with Rufus. I've temp fostered a few dogs here. I had a boy named Bobby that would come and do like weekends
Mhm.
here. He's since been adopted, and I've done a few other things with them. Uh, Transport and stuff like that. Anything like that is always rewarding. I usually stop and get them like a hamburger patty. Just uh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to like not get emotional. Just so that there's like a because a lot of these, if not all these dogs, have no fucking clue what's going on. You can't be like, look, bro, we're taking you somewhere safe. You're gonna be okay. You can't. There's no logic involved. So I try to just make it as stress free as possible. And talking about my asshole car earlier, my Jeep, which I love, I purposely wanted a larger vehicle so that I could accommodate my two large dogs, or in some instances, three large dogs. Or if I'm traveling across state lines to do transport or what have you, I have that rather than I used to have a sedan, which was not conducive to having transporting large dogs. Anyhow, it all is all a highlight, so I'll leave it there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You used to do like I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something with your Mila shirt or like merchandise where like half of it would go to.
Yeah. So anything that comes through Teespring, uh, I I can't remember if it's 50% of all of it or 50% of the profit, but 50% of it goes to it must be 50% of the profit. And I'll circle back to that. 50% of the profit, obviously, because they're not going to give away their money, goes to Angel City Pit Bulls. And I have to think if that's where it goes. I believe so because I set that up maybe 7 or 8 years ago. It's been so long that I can't remember. And every month I just get a statement in my email that says X amount from Teespring went to Angel City Pits, and then whatever, you know, if the shirt's $20 and it costs them $10 to manufacture and ship it, and then I get the remaining $5 or whatever. So I think that makes sense. It's 50% of the gross proceeds, I believe, and I should have a better understanding of how the breakdown is. But it admittedly has been so long that I don't really think about it, and it should ultimately be all of it. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so they get a couple $100 a year from me from the Mila stuff that people buy, and I think that's great. The artist that rendered that illustration of Mila as the Motorhead Snaggletooth parody, his name is Nick. Uh, it's one syllable, and I can't remember his last name. I've known him since I was a teenager. Nick something, and he's a well-to-do animator now. Speaking of voiceover, another guy. I'm like, you should give me some work, buddy. And I can't remember what shows he works on, but like some stuff for Cartoon Network. Like he's pretty successful, And our agreement was when he drew that is he said, "I don't care what you do with it as long as part of it goes to charity." And I was like, that was the whole point. So I hopefully Nick circles back to him that I'm still 7 years later, we're still donating part of the income from Milo's Pit Pal stuff to to charity.
Yeah, there's the little plug, Aces Teespring, Milo's
Yeah.
pal stuff. Also, you get this shirt, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Def Leppard parody, I think, was
yeah,
what that was
but
called.
no, I think that's great, and I think it's everybody loves her stuff. Like you've done a lot with it. I've seen pillows. I've seen everybody with the jackets, the
Yeah,
shirts.
there's a I've never acquired any of the stuff. I don't, because it's a third party seller.
Yeah.
People like, bro, bring me a shirt, and I'm like, I don't have them. Although I've ordered them for a handful of people, including Doyle from the Misfits. But I digress. The only thing
Mhm.
I ever bought outright was the sweater, which I wear pretty frequently. This hoodie. So the stuff's out there, and uh, and you were kind enough to make a really cool Rufus design. I think I can find one here. This one, little sort of
Trying
misfits.
to
Speaking
figure
of
out
Doyle,
something related to your dogs to give you a new shirt.
yeah, yeah, it's
I
a
have to talk to you about
little
just
double
sending me
lock.
pictures of them.
Okay,
Very specific photos of your dogs to get you a new shirt for that.
yeah, well, we should talk about that. He should probably have his own thing, and
Oh,
maybe
definitely.
the proceeds go to Pity and Pink. I know Laura over there would probably really like that.
Oh, yeah, because she still watches him when you travel, right? That was
Yeah, so when I was fostering him for however, what, 6 months or so, and decided to formally adopt him or to keep him, um, one of the sort of arrangements we had was that because of my travel schedule, obviously I'm a musician, that I would need her to at least be able to take care of him when I traveled. So that was one of the agreements we had, and I may be fostering a third dog here soon as well. So I don't know that I'd be able to keep a third dog, um, but I'm happy to have a third or a fourth dog here in the house when I'm home, assuming everybody gets along. And I mean, I've had dogs, even Bobby. They don't have to commingle. I just don't want them trying to murder each other from
mhm.
other ends of the house. So
And it's obvious that those two get along super well because Rufus is always giving her kisses.
yeah, yeah, they're good now. It took a little bit of time before she's just totally passed out back
Yeah,
there.
it's super
It
adorable and a little
it
distracted.
it took them a little bit of time more on his end to understand that it was her house first, and there's obviously, with any sort of pack animal, there's always a hierarchy. And she's, I just live here, it's her house. But once we got sort of through some of the growing pains, they're relatively great together nonstop. So
Okay. Yeah, no, the pictures are adorable. I absolutely love seeing them together. All right, so we are starting to run out a little bit of time, so I want the last one to kind of be a little fun.
sure.
My favorite impression that I've heard you do is obviously Beetlejuice. So I was hoping that I could get you to say another famous movie line in the Beetlejuice. And I
uh,
think that would be really weird to hear Beetlejuice say.
okay, what's the famous line?
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. As Beetlejuice.
Okay, okay. I gotta mentally prepare myself for this. Yeah. Hey, oh, whoa, hey, I get a feel we're not in Kansas anymore, eh? Sandworms, you hate them, right? Huh? I hate them myself. Oh, Toto. How's
Oh,
that?
that's wonderful. I love that though. No, because your impressions are spot on, and I do wish that you could get more because they're hilarious.
Thank you. Well, I don't. I think the only impressions I really do is the Beetlejuice one now, just frequently, and the Doc Brown.
Yeah.
And then I used to, when it was relevant, excuse me, I was constantly doing Dr. Evil 20 years ago.
No,
So
that's a good one. No, that's coming back. I promise you. You get the right side of the internet. That's coming back.
yeah, look, I didn't go to 7 years of evil medical school to be called Mr. Von Johnson. Yeah, no. Yeah, I was pretty good at that one, I think, for a
Yeah.
while.
No, that's pretty solid.
And a lot of band members. I used to do Tammy all the time. Like, here's the fucking deal, Bubba. The shit's gotta get fucking sorted. Or we're not gonna fucking play, okay, Chad? So he, he caught me doing that one time and he was like, who the fuck is that? And I was like, I'm you, Bubba. And lost their shit, just started laughing. And he was so mad, but he was cracking it. He was trying not to
Yeah, 'cause he
giggle.
knows it's accurate.
Yeah, he was like, fuck. He's
That
right.
is
I do
awesome.
sound like that.
And your Craig one is pretty on point. Craig, Gene Simmons, I don't know.
Oh yeah, my impression of Gene is an impression of
Yeah,
uh,
doing
Craig Gass doing Gene Simmons. Yeah. Uh, um, you know. Now, if you go to kissonline.org and click on my cod piece for only $8.99, you get yourself a signed, personalized Gene Simmons of Kiss lunch pail. And he's gotten pretty famous. He's
yeah,
gotten pretty famous at that. He uh,
absolutely.
he he asked me twice. He goes, "You gotta teach me how to do the tammy," and I was like, you know, it's you gotta be around him enough to know all his cadence. But yeah,
What was it, like 10 years you were with Pastor?
yeah, just shy of 10 years in the band. Yeah,
You're like, I got it. I know him. I am him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good times.
All right. Well, that is a wrap. And once again, I want to thank you so much for kind of being my guinea pig for this.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me.
I had a lot of fun. Make sure
Mm.
to stay tuned for more of this series on metalodyssey.net.